And joining us now, Dustin Olson, pollster with American Pulse Research and Polling and host of the Political Trade Secrets podcast, and Bill Ballenger, founder of the Ballenger Report. Great to have you both with us tonight. Bill and Dustin, I'm sure you have thoughts on that, but the Democratic Party is split over stances on Israel, and that is on display here with this particular race. How big of an issue is this for voters? Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, so I think within the Democratic primary, this is a big issue. We actually polled the New York City mayor's race quite a bit this last fall, and it has similar tones to it. Mamdani was very popular within the base of the Democratic Party, largely because of his refusal of denouncing the globalized intifada or the BDS movement. About 30% of those voters actually were more likely to vote for him in that. And in this primary, this has become one of the battle lines that's been drawn on this race, with one side being a little bit more pro-Israel and the other side being very anti-Israel. And of course, crazy to me to think that this candidate has campaigned with Hassan Piker, who said that America deserved 9/11. But to Bill's point, though, talking about the polling, this is definitely something that Michigan is not a state for drive-by pollsters. It takes care to actually get it right.
And Bill, in terms of that Israel issue, how are voters responding in Michigan? Is this going to be a deciding factor?
It could be, because Michigan has one of the biggest Arab Muslim populations in the entire country. You know, it's an amazing development. Foreign policy deciding a political race in any state or in the United States has hardly ever been a factor. This year in Michigan, it is, and all of Abdul El-Sayed's message about Palestine versus Israel kind of fits in to his whole populist, progressive data bank, where he's saying basically, I'm pro-Palestinian, I'm anti-Israel, I'm pro-Medicaid for all sorts of other things. Get corporate money out of politics. It all fits together. So foreign policy and domestic policy all of a sudden has come together in one place for El-Sayed's message to the Michigan electorate.
And Dustin, there are a lot of eyes on this primary because Democrats are trying to figure out their messaging for this election cycle. Now, Al-Sayed has the endorsement of Bernie Sanders and AOC, and Stevens has Schumer and Whitmer. Are these endorsements having much of an effect on voters?
No, I think ultimately it just shows you the different wings of the party, and it's more about that. So you have the socialist-aligned or all-out self-avowed socialist-aligned side of the party, or the borderline anti-Semitic sides of the party that are all kind of coalescing on one side, and then you have they're still very progressive, but the more establishment Washington D.C. directed Democrats who are really their argument's been that this is a question of electability. I actually don't necessarily agree with that sentiment. I think that this is going to be a close race no matter what. Whether it was Haley Stevens or if it was El-Sayed. Honestly, as I watch this campaign, I think he has more chops as far as a candidate goes. And I do think that he's also put together, to what Bill's been talking about, his message is, while I don't agree with most of his policies, they're at least speaking to what a lot of the voters do care about. But, tonight I'm going to be watching, how turnout looks like within Wayne County. It's going to be a big deal. Dearborn, if it has really high turnout, this is the thing that's difficult for pollsters to really be able to guess, because it's really a guessing game. Because of the historic nature of his candidacy, it could be that Dearborn has really high turnout, and that maybe Detroit has a little bit less turnout, or rural areas of the state have less turnout. All of those things we could actually see a much bigger win for him than the polling suggests. Or if that doesn't pan out, it could actually be a closer race.
And looking ahead a bit here, Bill, which one of these Democratic candidates has a better chance to win the general election against Mike Rogers, in your view?
Well, the conventional wisdom is that Stevens would have a better chance, right? But as my colleague here on this program has just indicated, I'm not sure I agree with that. Honestly, be careful what you wish for. Stevens may not be as strong a candidate against Mike Rogers as El Sayed will be. I think El Sayed, if he wins, he's going to have so many wins at his sails from this point on into November. That could be a winner. So honestly, the conventional wisdom may be turned on its head in this election.
And Dustin, Democratic Party leaders like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, when pressed about the growing socialist wing, continue to say that it is a big tent party that is focused on defeating President Trump, refusing to push back on platform items like abolishing the Senate, or they're accusing Israel of genocide. Do you think this is something we could see change if El Sayed loses the primary?
Oh, I don't know that that's going to change. I think this movement is, it's been coming for quite some time. Back in 2016, the party famously was able to prevent Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination. They're actually currently doing the same thing for 2028, making South Carolina the first nominating state, and that's intended so that they can control the process. After that happened, though, in 2016, in 2017, the Democratic Socialists of America had a national organizing meeting where they actually decided that they were going to, instead of setting up an outside group or a new party, they were going to organize within the Democratic Party. And at this point, we're approaching about 300 local elected officials across the country, and now we're going to see a big increase, regardless of what happens this month. Already in solidly Democrat districts, socialists have won the primaries, and they will be sending reinforcements to Congress. So this is something that's going to change. This one race, though, will change it in the Senate. El Sayed would definitely change that complexion, and I think would make it more difficult for Democrats to have a governing majority if they do get a majority.
And speaking of the Senate bill, Democrats want to take the Senate, and Michigan has been their most expensive Senate primary. Tell us more about what is at stake here for them.
Well, the big issue is, can Democrats hold on to incumbent seats that they have now in Georgia and in Michigan, where you've got open Ossoff, the Democrat running in Georgia for re-election, but in Michigan, an open seat. Democrats have got to win one or both of those races, or any gains that they might make in like Maine and North Carolina and Alaska and these other places that they're hoping to pick up seats are going to be erased. They're going to be canceled out because they've lost these crucial states that they hold right now in Michigan and Georgia. So for control of the Senate, what happens here in Michigan, that is why this race is ground zero today in the United States of America.
Well, Bill Ballenger, Dustin Olson, thank you both so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you both. Appreciate it.